Okay, so what if I told you the EU has a secret economic weapon, a trade bazooka so powerful it could bring a superpower to its knees? Let's break down how it works.
To really get our heads around this, we have to start with a pretty wild hypothetical. Imagine for a second the US decides to invade Greenland. Now, the EU's response isn't going to be with tanks or jets, but with a financial weapon that could seriously cripple the American economy.
And I know, that sounds totally out there, right? But this isn't just some far-fetched scenario. It's a thought experiment that really peels back the curtain on the hidden power dynamics between the world's greatest allies.
I mean, an act like this would just completely shatter nearly a century of trust. All of a sudden, the US isn't a protector anymore, it's a threat. And that entire alliance built after World War II, yeah, it would pretty much crumble overnight.
But before we get to the bazooka itself, we really need to understand the sheer scale of what's on the line here. The economic ties between the US and the EU are frankly the largest in human history. First up, just look at the trade. Every single year, a staggering $1.5 trillion in goods and services flows between them.
And on top of that, you've got $5 trillion that both sides have invested directly into each other's businesses, factories, and technology.
And look, these aren't just abstract numbers on a screen. This relationship supports nearly 6 million American jobs. We're talking about 6 million families whose livelihoods are directly on the line. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. For all the talk we hear about trade with China, the US-EU trade relationship is more than double that size. It is, without a doubt, the biggest and most important trade partnership on the entire planet. You know, the source material we're looking at puts it perfectly. This isn't some one-sided deal. The economic entanglement is so deep that both sides have just immense power over the other. So, how does the EU actually turn this relationship into a weapon? Well, it turns out they've built a specific tool for this exact kind of scenario. It's called the Anti-Coercion Instrument, or ACI for short. It's a regulation that just went live in 2023, and it's designed specifically to fight back against economic bullying from other countries. And this right here, this is the absolute game changer. Before the ACI, any big economic retaliation required a unanimous vote from all 27 member countries. You can imagine how that went. Any single nation could just block the whole thing. But now, with the ACI, they only need a majority. This makes the EU faster, more unified, and honestly, a heck of a lot more powerful.
And the process itself is surprisingly straightforward. A country makes a complaint, the Commission investigates, the Council votes, and if diplomacy fails, the retaliatory plan gets launched. It basically turns a bureaucratic nightmare into a direct path to action.
So, what does firing this trade bazooka actually look like in real life? This isn't about carpet bombing the entire US economy. No, think of it more like a precision strike.
The EU's strategy would be surgical. It's not just about inflicting random economic pain. It's about inflicting political pain. The whole goal is to hurt the specific political base that supports the aggressive action in the first place.
So you'd see them place these massive tariffs on really iconic goods from key political states. Think about Harley-Davidson motorcycles, which are tied to Wisconsin, or Kentucky whiskey, or specific agricultural goods from states that make up the administration's core support.
And it goes way beyond just tariffs. The EU could block American companies from bidding on huge public contracts, they could create all sorts of new regulatory headaches, and even target the business interests of specific people and companies inside the president's inner circle. It's a multi-layered attack.
But what if those targeted strikes don't work? Well, the EU has one final, devastating option in its back pocket. It's basically the economic version of pushing the big red button. We're talking about mutually assured destruction, a move so catastrophic that it would cause immense damage to everyone involved, including the EU itself. This is the absolute weapon of last resort. And here's why it's so potent. The EU holds $8 trillion of US debt. That's more than anyone else in the world. And they could, in theory, just decide to start dumping it all on the open market. So here's the crucial dilemma. While dumping that debt would send the US into a crippling crisis and scare off other lenders, it would also be a severe, self-inflicted wound for Europe. Their own pension funds and banks, which hold all that debt, would take massive losses. It's a weapon that hurts the person who fires it too. So ultimately, the EU's power here isn't some magic button that ends the US economy overnight. It's a versatile and, most importantly, a rapid response weapon, designed to punish economic pressure quickly and without needing everyone to agree.
And that leaves us with a pretty unsettling question, doesn't it? In this world of shifting politics, the world's greatest alliance might be a lot more fragile than we think. A tool that was designed for defense could very well become the spark for an unprecedented economic war.